Hey there, my name is Kelly Dale and I'm owner of Off the Beaded Path, which is located in Forest City, North Carolina. I want to wish everyone a very happy new year. I hope that you guys have started off 2013 with a blast. But to get you started for this year's videos, I wanted to actually start with some Valentine's Day projects. I know it seems a little bit early, but it's only a month till Valentine's Day, and I know a lot of you like to go ahead and make things to sell and do things like that. So I'm going to start you off with a 3D heart ring. Now the ring is made out of 3mm, so it's pretty small as far as the heart is concerned. But what you're going to need for the video today is 78 3mm bicones or round beads. It doesn't matter, it'll work with either. You're going to need some 3mm just glass round beads for the ring band. You're going to need two size 12 needles. 12s work better for this project rather than 10s. You can use 2 big eye needles for the ring band, but that is optional. You're going to need 2.5 yards of 6-pound fire line. You're going to need some scissors, and you're going to need about 12.5 inches of 0.5mm stretch magic. Now, the reason I used a 6-pound fire line on the ring is because we actually stitched the ring band to the back of the heart. And it's much easier to get your 0.5 stretch magic through the beads using the 6-pound rather than using the 8-pound. So that's why I'm using the 6-pound. So, get your materials together and we'll get started. To start off, I threaded a needle onto each end of about 24 inches of fire line. And on one needle, I'm going to go ahead and pick up 3 bicones. On one needle, I'm going to pick up 1 bicone and I'm going to cross my needles opposite ways through that one bead. Put the needles together and pull the thread so that it goes straight down to the center so that you have one box. Each needle picks up 1 bicone and let it fall. On one needle, I'm going to pick up 1 bicone and I'm going to cross my needles opposite ways through that one bead. Now I have 2 boxes. Once more, I'm going to pick up 1 bead onto each needle, let that fall. On one needle, I'm going to pick up 1 bead and I'm going to cross my needles opposite ways through that one bead. So that now I have 3 boxes. Now I'm going to start making the turn of the heart. This is going to be the top. So on the right hand needle, pick up 1 bead. On the left hand needle, pick up 1 bead, and you're going to cross through the needle on the left hand. And when you do that, this is what you should have. Again, 1 on the right, let it fall. 1 on the left, and cross through the one on the left. So when you pull it nice and tight, your piece will look like this. Once more, 1 on the right, let it fall. 1 on the left, and cross your needles opposite ways through the one on the left. So that now, once you do that, you'll be able to start working up towards the other end of the heart. And as you can see, my left hand thread is exiting towards the beadwork. My right hand thread is exiting away from the beadwork. So with that left hand thread, I'm going to go up through the very next side bead in the row. So I'm going to go right up through this one bead right here. Pull that on through. Okay, the right hand picks up one bead and let it fall. The left hand picks up one bead, and you cross your needles opposite ways through that one bead there on the left hand, so that when you pull, you now have another completed box. With the left hand needle, I'm going to go up through the next side bead there. I'm going to come straight up through this very next bead. Pull. The right hand needle picks up one bead, let it fall. Left hand needle picks up one bead, and you cross your needles opposite ways through the one there on the left hand. So that now your piece looks like this. With the left hand thread, I'm going to go up through this last bead here on the side. And what I'm going to do is on the left hand thread, I'm going to pick up one. On the right hand thread, I'm going to pick up one, and I'm going to cross through the one here on this right hand thread. So instead of crossing through the left, I'm crossing through the right, so that when I do, and you get it pulled nice and tight, it brings you out there to the side, so that this is what you should have. On each needle, I'm going to pick up one bead and let it fall. On one needle, I'm going to pick up one bead, and I'm going to cross my needles opposite ways through that one bead. So that once I do, now this is what you should have. Now we're going to start the turn here, just like we did on this side. So on the left hand needle, I'm going to pick up one bead and let it fall. On the right hand needle, I'm going to pick up one bead, and I'm going to cross opposite ways through the one on the right. If you'll remember, on the other side, we crossed through the one on the left. This time, we're going to be crossing through the one on the right. Alright, so that gives you your box of 3 there at the top. Pick up one on the left, let it fall. One on the right, cross through the one on the right. And then once more, one on the left, one on the right, and cross through the one on the right. So now it's made your turn. So if you actually hold the heart up this way, you can see it taking shape. But we actually have to finish out the heart. Excuse me. So if you hold it just like this, this is where we last finished. I'm going to come with this right hand thread. I'm going to come up through the little bead, that one bead there to the side. It's kind of in the middle. And pull. And then I'm going to go through the bead right next to where my thread is exiting. So it's going to be this bead here to the left. So I'm going to go through that one, so that when I pull through, I'm going to pick up one bead and cross opposite ways through the one bead, so that now you pull that nice and tight, the shape of the heart is finished. So as you can see, the shape of this heart, like the shape of just a plain flat heart, is not pretty. But once you get it made into that 3D heart, it's really nice. So I'm going to take one needle, and I'm going to stitch through my beads to get around to the other thread. And I'm going to take my 2 threads, and I'm going to tie those into a couple of really good knots. I normally put about 3, 1 single and 2 double knots in there is normally what I do. And then take your needles and stitch through a few beads with each needle. So that you won't be cutting those tail threads right at the knot. And then trim your tails. Once you've trimmed your tails, this is what your single heart will look like. Once you've got that done, then you'll want to make a second one exactly identical to the first one, repeating the steps that we did to do the first heart. It's going to take 2 pieces so that we can lay them right on top of each other, just like this, and actually do our connections. And you'll be able to see it better as I actually show you how we're going to connect them. So, I'm going to cut the same amount of thread, about 24 inches, and got my needle onto each end. And to start off, I'm going to actually use a different color so that you can see where I'm going to attach those beads at. So let me grab that other color. Alright, I'm going to use a crystal AB here so that you can see where this connection is being made. So I'm going to pick up one AB and I'm just going to kind of let it fall to the center of my thread. And I'm going to take my 2 hearts and I'm going to lay them down so that they are identical when you hold them together. Now I'm going to start here at the very bottom point, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one needle and go up through one bead on one side, and I'm going to take another needle and go through the one bead opposite it on the other heart, so that they're coming out side by side just like this. I'm going to hold those needles and pull the thread so that when I pull it, that one bead now is connecting these 2 sides. I'm going to keep my threads separated. I'm going to lay that heart down. I'm going to pick up one 3mm and I'm going to cross my needles opposite ways through that one 3mm and pull. Now, if it helps, you can use the 2 different colors like I'm using, but I'm only using these so that you can see how it's done. You will want to use a solid color. So here's what I've got so far. Now I'm going to take the needle on the right hand side and it's going to go up through the very next bead here on the right hand heart. I'm going to take the needle on this left hand side and I'm going to go right up through the very next bead on this left hand heart. We're only working with the beads on the outer edges here. Alright, lay my heart down, pick up one bead, cross my needles opposite ways through the one bead, and pull. So now I have 3 beads interconnecting here. The right hand needle goes through the very next bead on the right hand side. The left needle goes through the very next bead here on the left hand side. And pull. Pick up one bead, cross your needles opposite ways through the one bead, the needle on the right hand side goes up through the very next bead on the right hand side, the needle on the left hand side goes up through the very next bead on this left hand side. So as you can see, the connection is starting to be made. So you'll want to go all the way around the heart, adding one bead in between each set of beads here. All the way around, even in the very center. Alright, so I've gone all the way around, adding my connection beads here along the sides, and I just added my very last bead, and this is my very first bead that I added here on the very tip of the heart. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the needle on the right hand side, and I'm going to go up through my last bead, and then through the very first bead I started with. Then I'm going to do this on the left hand side. Left hand bead, or left hand thread, goes up through the last left hand bead here. And then I'm going to go through the very first bead I started with. That connects the first and the last, so that now you have a 3D heart. You want to take one thread and stitch it around to the other thread and tie the two threads together into a couple of really good knots. Then once you've made a couple of good knots, stitch through your beads with each needle so that you're not cutting those tail threads right next to the knot. And then use your cutters or your thread zapper to get rid of your tails. You now have the body of the heart complete, and you're ready to do the ring band. Okay, to start the ring band, if you look directly into the center of your heart, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 beads that are making a little box here in the very center of your heart. And those 4 beads are going to be the 4 that we're going to use to actually do the ring band with. I like to start my ring band off with the big eye needles, and then I'll take them off and work with them off. But to start out, I'm going to take one needle and I'm going to come through this bead and this bead. So I'm going to come through 1, and then 2. And you want to be careful coming through those beads there. Alright, now I'm going to take the other needle here, and I'm going to come through this bead and this one. So these 2 here. So again, here's our box of 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. With one needle, I come through this one and this one. With my left hand needle, I'm going to come through this one and this one. Now, put your 2 needles together and pull so that your threads are evened up and they're coming out side by side of my 2 bicones here on this side of the heart. So if you hold it like this, you can see where they're coming out. I'm going to be using my Crystal AB 3mm rounds. I'm going to go ahead and take my needles off here. Alright, I'm going to pick up one round on one thread, and then I'm going to take the other thread and go through the round the opposite direction. Again, I'm putting my two threads together. And I'm going to pull that one bead so that it goes down to the very center just like this. Now, as you can see, you only have one bead. You're not going to have a box of 4. You're starting out with one, and this is what it looks like. Alrighty, on each side, I'm going to pick up one bead. Now, on one thread, I'm going to pick up one bead, and I'm going to cross my needles opposite ways through the one bead. So that now I have a box of 4. You're going to continue repeating this step until you reach the desired length of your band. So I'm going to pick up one on one needle, one on the other needle, and let them fall. Then I'm going to pick up one on one thread, and I'm going to cross my threads opposite ways through that one bead and pull. So you'll continue this step for the desired length. I've reached the desired length, and I've threaded my big eye needles back onto each end. And what I'm going to do is my right hand thread here, I'm going to come back to the bead I started with, which was this bead right here. This was one of my 4, my 1, 2, 3, 4 here. So I'm going to take this one bead needle, and I'm going to go through that one bead. And be careful as you pull. What in the world? Oh, there we go. Alright, so when you pull, now that side goes down to the base, which is exactly what you want. So now take the other needle and come through the other bead here that you would have originally started with, and go through and pull through that one. Now I'm going to take my needles off. I'm going to run one needle or one thread back through this band here so that my threads are coming out in the very center of the ring. And then I'm going to take the two threads and I'm going to tie them together into a couple of really good knots. Once you have those cut into a couple of good knots, go ahead and trim your tails. And now you have a beautiful new ring. This is the ring here, completed with the 3mm reds. There is a sample I made. This, it looks AB in the here in the video, but it's actually light peach. It's a very light pink color. Once you actually get it against that, it looks pink. I have made a crystal AB. There you go. You can see the difference now. But this is a really pretty pink. I made a crystal AB heart. And then I've also made a purple light heart, which I thought was really, really pretty. Because when you actually put it on, it gives you that unexpected fun. So these colors are the 4 colors that I did for my kits this week. And you can find these 4 color kits on our Etsy site as well as the pattern. I hope you guys enjoyed learning how to make this 3D ring. It looks kind of difficult, but once you actually get to going and you understand the rhythm of the pattern, it's not difficult at all, and you'll be able to whip these out in no time. The 4 color kits and the PDF pattern, which we will email to you, is available for purchase on our Etsy site. Or you can also check out offthebeadedpathbeadstore.com. Now be sure to come back next week as I'm going to show you how to make these same 3D hearts, how I make them into earrings. So I hope you guys have a great week, and we'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.